Jack, we have the international break, and I thought it would be a good idea to have a recap of what happened to the Premier League up to now. A very exciting season. Well, it wasn't until 3 months ago when City was 14 points in front. But let's start with your prediction. Who do you think is going to win the Premier League?
Well, that's a big question, isn't it, Nikos? I think it all hinges on that game in April between the two clubs when they play at the Etihad, I think it is. So
yes.
Liverpool are the form team. Liverpool won 6 of the last 6 games. They've reinforced well in January, whereas Man City haven't reinforced as well. They've got some exciting attacking players. They've got so many options. I know Man City do.
Jack, you have it's a simple question. It's 50-50.
Difficult one. I'd like to think
I'm going to upload your answer to TikTok. So
I think Liverpool win the league. I think Liverpool have got the momentum. I know they're chasing Man City, and I know they have some difficult games, but I just think they've just got that bit extra now in the squad. So I'm going to go with Liverpool. Like I say, it all hinges on that game. I know Man City are at home, but I think it'll be good for the league to have somebody different again to win. I know Liverpool won a couple of years ago, but Man City have dominated the league the last 4 or 5 years. Before
we came on air, I saw the remaining fixtures, and they have a similar, some difficult games. So everybody's talking about that game at Etihad, but I think it might not come to that at the end of the day. So we'll see.
The reason I picked Liverpool as well, another reason, based on the recent result, because they were playing Arsenal away, and people were thinking Arsenal, they're really on form at the moment. It's a big test for Liverpool, especially at the Emirates, and they went away and won. They came back with 3 points. So they showed they can do the difficult games under pressure. And they've been on a really good run, not just there within the Champions League, they're in the FA Cup. Liverpool and they won the Carabao Cup. They seem to be strong on all fronts at the moment. So.
Since you mentioned the FA Cup, they will play again in the FA Cup. So it's
the Man City versus Liverpool show now. They're the two clubs. They're far above everybody else. They're miles clear of everybody else, really, quite frankly. So it would be interesting to see the two of them coming to get together all the time now. They're the two teams to beat. They might even come together again in the Champions League later on in the stages. Who knows?
Okay. Despite the fact that it hurts me to say that Liverpool might win.
Which one would you prefer as a Man United fan? Yeah, which one would you prefer, Liverpool or Man City to win?
Man United.
Good answer.
Listen, I watched their FA Cup match last weekend against Notts Forest, and it looks like now they have a depth in squad, something which Liverpool didn't have 2 years ago. They relied on 14, 15 players to win the league. So, and also, since they managed to keep the momentum when the Africa Cup of Nations, when they was playing, and they had the two main stars, Mane and Salah, and they also managed to decrease the point difference between them and City. I agree with you, they do have the momentum. On the other fact, Man City, they are creating chances. It's not that like they have every team throughout the season, in every league, they have this period where they don't get the results. It's
you have your ups and downs. You have your bad moments.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's it might be that from now on they will have their own momentum and be stronger and finish stronger. And win the league. So it's an exciting, business end of the season.
Absolutely.
Let's put it this way. Yeah. So it's good for the Premier League because
it keeps things interesting. Nobody wanted Man City to canter to the title again. Be 10, 12 points clear of the rest of the field. So it's nice to see Liverpool making it interesting for us fans and trying to give a good game of it, and it's really close now with 9 games to go, so it's all to play for. I'm glad they're playing each other as well, because that'll add an extra spice to the whole thing. It's both in their hands, because either can win it. If they win all their games, Liverpool win. If Man City win all their games, they win, because they play each other. So I think it's going to be a really interesting last few games, and I don't know which way it's going to go. I said Liverpool, it could go either way. There's 1 point in it. They've got the momentum. Man City they've been the champions, in recent years. They've really dominated the league, apart from that one season where Liverpool won during the lockdown season. So it's going to be all to play for.
Another important factor, in my opinion, is that the return of Van Dijk make a huge difference. Everybody is looking at the forwards, the stars, but in Liverpool's case, in the last few years, is when Van Dijk is not in the team, then they have an issue at the back. It's like when we get to Man United, we will talk about Maguire, but for different reasons. But here
he was cheaper than Maguire.
Yeah, but his performance and his personality at the back makes a huge difference for Liverpool.
Yeah, when you hear the other pundits in the UK talking about players who go under the radar but are still highly rated, he's one of the first names that comes up, because he just does his job. He's solid as a rock, he's strong, he's quick, he's got passing, left foot, right foot, he's got tactical awareness, he sort of leads the back line, and he brings all the levels of all the other players up around him, whoever plays next to him, and he's just one of the best players. And obviously because he's not a goal scorer, he's not getting all the headlines all the time. But what a player, and the Liverpool fans absolutely love him. It's hard to get past. He's quick. I mean, there's hardly anything you can pick out of him that's a weakness. When he's fit, when he's 100% fit, and they did miss him when he was injured, mostly last season, early this season. So he's one of the main reasons why they've really shored up their defence again this season.
And also we need to discuss the fact that Klopp is not going to be there for long. I don't know, there were some articles saying that he will be gone by the end of 2024. Probably take a break. I don't know.
They all need a break. I mean, Pep Guardiola had a break.
Pep announced that he will be he'll be there until 2023.
Yeah.
So
the stakes are high, aren't they? The stakes are high for these managers. When they have a difficult result, or if the performance is not quite what they wanted, and they get some challenging questions from the media, they bite back. They're snappy. They can get quite angry.
Yeah, but Jack, they are not superhuman. Everybody, they think it's Pep or it's Klopp, but they are humans as well.
Yeah,
so
the point being that it's just high pressure, high stakes, and how long can you manage a job in such high pressure environments? Where everyone's eyes are on you, and you have such high standards. Pep and Klopp have such high standards of their players, and when they don't quite meet that, it must consume them all day, all night. So surely they will need a break, because it's just so full on being a manager of one of those two clubs.
And thinking about it is, nowadays with the social media and the scrutiny and the immediate reaction of pundits, TV channels, sportscasters, YouTubers, everybody is I'm just thinking, Arsene Wenger and Alex Ferguson, if they were coaches today, they would have lasted for so many years. So it's.
I think it's more full on. Like I said, I think it's 24/7 football now. Yeah, Sir Alex wouldn't have had that. He wouldn't have been on social media. He wouldn't even have been aware of it until the later years of his managerial career, and it's just dominates everything. Everyone's got an opinion. We're talking about it now. Everyone around the clock, around the world, the whole world talks about, what's happening with Liverpool? Are they going to challenge Man City? Are they still? Is Pep still got it? Can Klopp regain the? Does he lose in too many finals? All these different things. Going back in time, but people always it just dominates the agenda, and it's all on one man, really, because they're the face of the club as manager.
Let's talk about Chelsea, because they've been in the headlines recently due to the war in Ukraine, and Abramovich, when his assets were frozen, so they decided to sell the club. So the last few days they changed their licensing, so they are allowed to get about 30 million from the parent company. I'm just wondering who owns the parent company.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I've followed this one, looking at some of the bids coming in. It seems to be a tricky situation, because how do you sell a club like that, so big, quickly? It's just not possible. You have to do your due diligence. You have to look into the finances of the club. You have to look at whether you have the finances. There's not many people who can afford to pay 2-3 billion for a club. You can't, nobody just has that money lying around. So there's been talk about a group of individuals coming together, like a consortium of wealthy individuals. There's a few fans that there's some few wealthy fans that are looking into it as well.
Even Sepco is in one of the consortiums.
Yeah, exactly. You get some names as well. You get egos. You bring all these people together who are very successful in business, very successful with their money. Some of them are fans. We've seen that Candy. The guy called Candy was interested in the club. There's been people from America. There's been Johnson, who owns an NFL club, I believe, over there. So the former US ambassador, and he's got money as well. But who's the right person? Are they looking for a quick sell? Or are they looking for the right sell?
The thing with Chelsea is they had Ken Bates and now Abramovich for so many years. So if he's a consortium, who's going to be the figurehead of the club? So are they going to restructure the club? It's a lot of questions at the moment. The only thing we know is that there have been 3 or 4 bids.
There's been a few bids coming in, and which one are they going to pick? And will it take its time? These things tend to take their time when it's a big club.
What is going to happen with the expenses, the overheads of the club? So they're allowed now to buy the fans tickets for FA Cup, Champions League and away matches, but how are they going to survive if this is not resolved very quickly? And I agree with you, due diligences take time. It's not something it's a matter of days.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's a massive club, a massive player. They're still doing well though on the pitch. That's the thing. They've seemed to, when the back's against the wall, there's a bit of adversity. Players, they can go either way. They can down tools, think, will I get paid? But they've actually performed on the pitch.
I'll tell you how I see it. I watched a couple of Tuchel's press conferences, and he came out as a leader. So it's very important. When you're a coach, when you listen to your coach, it says, if I have to drive the bus to get to the matches, I would do it. So, your players get confidence out of it. So it looks like they made the right choice, Chelsea, with this coach.
He's already shown. He's already won a couple of trophies, hasn't he? And he's very good. I know Havertz came out and said he'd drive the coach. When they played Lille away in the Champions League, they seem to have some good characters in there, some strong characters. I don't know how it will affect them going forwards with transfers. There's a few players, big players, out of contract as well.
Rudiger as well, yeah.
In the summer, what's going to happen with him? The Chelsea fans love Rudiger, so it'll be interesting. In this summer, will they lose players, and will they be able to replace them? We don't know. Will they have a new ownership by next season?
Now that you mentioned Rudiger, I read an article the other day that he's the quickest Premier League player. You expected, Salah or Ronaldo, but apparently he's quickest of them all. So.
Well, when you watch him, if he makes the odd mistake, because he comes out with the ball, he does what Maguire used to do when he was at Leicester. He used to come out with the ball and start attacks from the back. But when he makes a mistake, you see how quick he is to react when he's running back. So that's quite incredible, really, when you see how much he's performed and how good he actually is as a defender. Not just in terms of his pace, but also in terms of his reading of the ball and his ability to drive the attacks from the back.
Another team, and nobody expected to be in the top 4 when the season started out. Arsenal, they look to have the momentum now for the 4th spot. What do you think?
Yeah, I was surprised. I think a lot of people were surprised to see, with 10 games to go for Arsenal, that they're in this position in the top 4. It's been a long time, seems like a very long time since they've been in the Champions League. And I remember back on they played the first game of the season. They played Brentford away on a Friday night, and I remember they lost. And I remember Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher saying, typical Arsenal, another season where they're going to be struggling, nowhere near the top 4. And look at them now. They've really really pushed on. Arteta is showing that maybe he is the right man for Arsenal after all. A lot of doubts about him. You have the Arsenal fans are very vocal on social media. They're some of the most vocal fans as a club. But I think one of the key things, from my point of view, I think is getting rid of players who don't want to be there. They had Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He seemed to be a bit of a bad influence. His head just wasn't there with Arsenal anymore. Good player, but I think maybe players like him destabilised the dressing room.
He plays well for Barca now, but it looks like for Arsenal he wasn't. Sometimes it happens,
Sometimes, yeah. He's been there a few years and he just maybe he needed a change. He needed a fresh environment, fresh challenge.
Yes.
And I think since he's left, they seem to have kicked on. They've got some top young players, haven't they? They've got Saka, what a player he is. They've got Smith Rowe, another good player. These are the future players for Arsenal. If they keep hold of them, they could, and if they keep performing, they will stay. They keep in the challenging for Champions League places. They will stay. So Arsenal, not just this season, going forwards, they could improve. Building that nucleus of young players, maybe sprinkled with a bit of experience, get some other players coming in. I think Thomas Partey has been a revelation recently. He's come back. He's come back to show the player he was when he was at Atletico Madrid. He's a good holding midfielder, and he's passing the ball about, being creative, laying the ball up when he needs to the Smith Rowes of this world. So I think the future looks bright for Arsenal, based on not just on recent performances, but on the future of the players they have in the squad. What do you think?
I agree with you. It looks like right now they have all the pieces in the right place to complete the puzzle. Finally, because for some years, with Emmerich, and we were expecting, now he's the right coach, and then sometimes when you have these big star players, but you don't have the team. And it's a team sport, and we forget about it. It's okay. There are commercial issues as well, but sometimes you need to get a restart. And start building with a young squad, and take it as a long-term project, not just everybody to expect an immediate success. And I think they're in the right direction. I agree with you. And then on the fifth place we have Tottenham with Conte now. It looked like they were going to have a momentum, and then right now they're some of their performances were iffy, to say the least.
Yeah, I think it's classic Tottenham, isn't it? I mean, they're fifth. Yeah, they're just on the outskirts. Arsenal got a game in hand. They're just on the outside of the top four, but they're so inconsistent. Spurs, Tottenham. They look like they're going to do something. They start well. They maybe start the season reasonably well, and they pick up a few good results. Beat Man City and things like that, and then they lose to teams near the bottom, and they don't seem to string a run of games together. They don't seem to have that consistency. Maybe they don't have the depth in the squad. I don't know. And Conte, he's a strange one, because I'm not entirely sure that he wants to be there for the long term. Conte never does. He comes in, he wants to win trophies, and then he gets out of there and tries a new challenge. And I know after a recent defeat, he was saying, maybe I'm not the right man for the job, and if they want to sack me, then they can sack me. It's the board's decision.
Yeah, but that's typical Conte.
Yes, typical Conte.
He's done it everywhere he's been.
Yes, but is he the right man for Spurs? Because Spurs don't tend to win anything. That's sort of seems to be the Spurs way in recent years.
We will see. We will see.
So Spurs, we don't know. They've got two top players. I mean, any club in the league would want Kane and Son up front. I mean, the two of them, they assisted each other again. They're incredible two players. And I think imagine if Kane or Son. Imagine if Kane or Son was at Manchester City. I mean, they might have already wrapped up the title by now with that clinicalness in front of goal.
But I watched them recently at Old Trafford when they play United, and they looked vulnerable at the back. Going forward, they were really impressive. Really good moves, Song and Kane, and then in the end, they faded away, and of course it was an exciting game because of the scoreline. But sorry, it looks like they don't have the consistency, and that's why I think Arsenal have an advantage for the fourth spot.
Yeah, Arsenal got that. They've got the points on the board. They've got a game in hand. There seems to be. I do think they're still a little bit more consistent than Spurs at the moment. I know Spurs have won the last couple of games. I think they've won 4 of the last 5, but that's not the point. I think they play each other as well in North London derby between now and the end of the season. So again, a bit like the top 2, 4th and 5th place. You know, it's all to play for. It's all to play for. Spurs could turn things around. They could beat Arsenal and they could go on a run. Can I see it happening? I'm not entirely sure. But I know they've got a bit of a shaky defence, really, but they've got the attacking lineup. They've got those players who you need in the right positions. They put the ball in the back of the net. So when you've got Kane, any team who's got Kane, any team who's got Son, they've got a chance. That's why it's hard to predict with Spurs, because they could play a blinder up front and lose like the Man City game or the Man United game. They could lose 4-3, 3-2 and score 2 really good goals. But at the back, they just not quite got it. So I'm not sure with Spurs. I think they will lose out to Arsenal. I think Arsenal will be in the top 4. And how will they get on Arsenal? Because this season they haven't had European football. So how will they cope next season? We'll have to wait and see when they've got Premier League and all the domestic cups, as well as maybe the Champions League or Europa League. So
well, they need to add to their squad.
They'll need depth. They'll need more
depth,
players.
Definitely.
More experience to go with the young players.
Definitely. And Man United.
Dare we talk about Man United at the moment? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's another year wasted. Is not going forward. The problem is the defensive midfielders. There is insecurity in the back. You look at the players; they over elaborate on the ball and they lose the ball, and then the opponents score goals against them. So Maguire, he's not an 80 million, unless is one of the things that we discussed before. All this pressure is getting to him, because from the incident in the summer, when he went on holidays at Mykonos, up to now, he's not the same player.
It's been a disaster, hasn't he?
Yes.
Really, he has been an absolute disaster. I saw a compilation of all his mistakes recently, and just from this season.
He had a very good Euro, but after that, he's just.
For Man United, he's the captain of Man United, Manchester United. He's not performed, has he?
And also Varane, he's been injured, injury prone this year, and Ralf Rangnick, he's trying to have some structure in the team, but they like Tottenham, they've been so inconsistent, and they don't get the results, and I don't think they're going to finish in the top 4.
What do you think sense the atmosphere is around the club? You went to a couple of games. You went to the Champions League game. What was the atmosphere like? Maybe the second game. Negative.
No, it's not.
They're still positive. They're still getting behind the players. And
I think the fans, they set it now that there will be big changes in the summer. Apparently, they started the CEO and the top management. They started interviewing some managers. It looks like the Hack is on top of the list right now, even though nothing is coming out. But it looks like
Ten Hag is the favourite, isn't he?
Yes, because if Ajax allows them to interview their coach, so it looks like they've given him the go ahead, because he's under contract. His contract doesn't end this year. So are we going to see a Dutch model in next year? From next year, who knows? But there's a new CEO. It will be a big appointment for the new CEO.
Very big.
Very big appointment for the.
What a few months it's going to be for the people in charge in the management.
But it's the whole structure. Last week there was rumors coming out that Ralf Rangnick is going to have a remote consulting role. what's that supposed to mean? I mean, do you have a clear vision or not? this is a question.
From the outside, it doesn't look like there is much of a clear structure, does there, at Man United at the moment? There just doesn't seem to be. And the last few years, there hasn't been either.
So there are a lot of issues for them to solve, because yes, supporters are frustrated, and they will be getting more and more frustrated if they don't start getting things right. And if you remember Mourinho, he was accused of that. Basically, what he wanted to do was to have a clear out of big star names and bring some fresh faces into the squad. Okay, so and recently you see what happened with Rashford and the supporters after the Atletico match. So the pressure is getting to them. These are young. Okay, they get a lot of money, but they are really young guys. So, and they're under scrutiny every day. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen in the summer. Really,
it's going to be a massive summer. On the pitch, off the pitch, the 20 points behind the noisy neighbours. I mean, that is terrible. They're going to be hating that, aren't they, Man United fans? They're used to success. People support them because of their success, and it's just not looking good at the moment, is it? No, and again,
they might end up playing in the Conference League, which is something that Spurs didn't want to do this year.
Yeah, and Leicester are in the Conference League, and their manager Brendan Rodgers said, "I didn't even know we were in it. I never even heard of the competition." Basically, he said a few months back, and now, so Man United, do they want to be in that?
In the 7th position, we have West Ham. They've done really well this year, and they're in the Europa League as well, which is major for a club like West Ham to. I mean, up until recently, they were in the 4th spot. So
what a job David Moyes has done.
Yes.
Man United manager for a brief period. He was the chosen one to succeed Sir Alex Ferguson, but now he's doing a really good job at West Ham. He's really re-energised the club. I think when they moved to that new stadium, the Olympic Stadium, a lot of the fans thought they lost some of the identity and the soul of the club, and now it looks like he's got them going. If they feel like they've got a new lease of life, that is their home now. And the way the football they're playing is, when they're on song, when they're on form, they're a match for any team in the division, anybody. And they're juggling the Premier League with a really good Europa League run as well. So and they beat Sevilla, the multiple champions over the last 10 years.
They're doing really well.
They're doing really well.
Yes. And apparently they put a 150 million price tag on Declan Rice. So I'm not sure who is going to pay that money for.
Would you take him at Man United? Would he be the man?
He's an exceptional player.
Yeah, you take him to shore up the midfield and
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
He's a good player.
From the players that are out there right now, in my opinion, it should be the number one priority for a midfield player. But 150 million,
it's a lot of money.
Also, it looks like there will be a shift from financial fair play. And change it with a salary cap and restriction of how much money the teams can spend. Apparently, 70% of their turnover for the overheads. So we see how these things will affect the transfer market as well.
Yeah, that will be the moment where you see which clubs are well run and which clubs are not well run, because some will not sweat about that. Some will think, well, that's fine, we're doing that anyway. We've got no problem. And others who've spent wildly and tried to get their way, buy their way up the table, or just be really irresponsible with on the financial side, they will be struggling, and might affect performance on the pitch and sell-offs as well.
But compared with other leagues, the Premier League clubs they pay over the odds for players. This is unbelievable. I mean, this is. I cannot really describe it because you see how much, the transfer fees have been going up every year. But you see what happened to Barcelona, Real Madrid with their financial situation. It looks like one team that is throughout the years probably run is Bayern Munich. Every year they are consistent, their financial matters, their performance on the pitch. Okay, they would have liked to win the Champions League more times, but they have a model that is working. Okay, Ajax is a different model. They're trying to produce their own players and sell them on to generate income, and of course they're. It looks like they're like Bayern and in a league of their own in their respective countries, but they have a different model that works. In the Premier League, we have all these big investors, and they spend over the odds. Something which I have seen that your team, Newcastle, right now they are resisting to pay over the odds. They had to make some transfers in order to not to be relegated and start picking points. But we can judge the current investors next year when they will rebuild the squad.
Yeah, I think the immediate priority back in January, when the state of their position in the Premier League looked a bit under threat, it looked a bit precarious, to be honest. They brought in some players. They had to bring in bodies. They needed a fresh set of players to come in and make a difference. I think they did pay over the odds for maybe Chris Wood, £25 million for Burnley striker, who had only scored a couple of goals this season, albeit he had hit double figures for the last 2 or 3 seasons for Burnley in the Premier League. 25 million was a lot of money for him, but he's come in, he's shown that he can contribute. He's held the ball up, he's scored a goal recently, and I think he brings a good all-round play, and he keeps things, he solidifies things up top. He keeps the ball and he brings others into play. That's what Newcastle needed, especially with the injury to Callum Wilson. I mean, that was a major blow, out for the season or most of the season. Some of the other players they brought in, Matt Targett, left back, solid player, played a lot for Villa in the last couple of Premier League seasons. Bruno Gimerias, the midfielder from Lyon. He was quite an expensive signing, but he's shown already. He's scored a great overhead kick recently, and they've eased him in because he's obviously Brazilian coming up to the northeast. It's not easy. It's colder. It's greyer. There's not many people about. I think he's come in and they've nurtured him, and he's sort of gradually starting games now, and he's looking good. So they brought in some players. Obviously, Kieran Trippier is the star man coming in. What a signing! Fantastic, good value as well. Really good value, but he's injured now. But he scored a couple of really vital goals. So they've made some good signings. I did see that the rumours coming out of the club were they're not going to overspend in the summer. They're maybe looking at about 90 million in total spend on players. Maybe they might try and get rid of a few players. Like I heard Almiron, they're trying to tout him about to other clubs to move him on, maybe raise some funds. I think they want to build slowly. They don't want to just throw money at it. I saw Newcastle were linked with Neymar recently, and then I think some club sources said that's just not going to happen. But the problem is Newcastle are going to get linked with everybody, and agents are going to want their players to go there because they know the wages will be good.
We don't know what the plan is. Maybe they will want to have new facilities for the academy, which is something that has been discussed.
They need a new training ground. That's for
training
sure.
ground.
They need a brand new training ground. It's really old.
So
they'll spend on that.
A new state-of-the-art training ground.
Yes,
might talk about 300 to 400 million.
They're not cheap, are they?
They're not cheap.
But you look around the Premier League,
and the cost of construction now is going up by the day. So
but you look around the Premier League. Even if you look at Norwich, their training ground is impressive. Southampton, Leicester's got a really good brand new complex.
Yes.
So to be able to challenge in the Premier League, you need to have a good training ground because players will come with their agents. They will come and look at the training ground, and when they go to Newcastle's one, they'll think, "What is this?" I mean, it's the same one that when Alan Shearer signed in the mid-90s.
Yes, I know.
It needs improvement. Yeah.
Let's talk about 3 other teams for different reasons: Aston Villa, Everton, and Leeds. So what do you think of Aston Villa and Gerrard?
Well, you look at them there, they're obviously comfortably in mid-table. They'll probably finish in the top 10. Steven Gerrard's come in, and the thing about Villa is I've got a friend who's a Villa fan, and he always says there's inconsistency there. Like, they've got players like Coutinho, who's a top player, but he doesn't perform in every game. He only performs in certain games. And how long will he stay? Will he go somewhere else? He's only on loan, and he's been linked with Arsenal already and other clubs, bigger clubs, higher up the table. And then you've got people like Watkins, who I hear that he doesn't always seem to be that interested up front, and then he gets the odd goal and he looks like he's doing more than he actually is. He puts the ball in the back of the net and then he doesn't score for a few games and his head's down. He doesn't seem to try that hard. And then you got quality in that squad. You've got quality in Villa's squad, really good. They signed Luca Dean, the left back, didn't they, from Everton, decent player. They got an England international, Tyrone Mings. Got Buendia, Coutinho. It's not a bad squad when you go through it. Danny Ings up front. Again, inconsistency, isn't it? They get on a run of wins, so they got a couple
do you
of wins.
think Coutinho will stay next year?
Do you think? Sorry, who was that?
Coutinho will stay.
I don't think he will, personally. I know he's got their relationship with Steven Gerrard. He played with him at Liverpool and stuff. But I think he might want to look a bit further up. He has performed in a few games, to be fair to Coutinho, and he's quality. He is quality player.
But it looks like his Premier League suits him. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what.
He's got familiarity, hasn't he? He really performed his best stuff in the Premier League. He was unbelievable for Liverpool for those years he was there. And will he be looking further at the table? I know he's been linked with Arsenal. If you were Coutinho, would you go to Arsenal? You might have Champions League. He wants to be playing in Europe, doesn't he? He's not a mid-table Premier League player, even now. Even though he's a little bit older, he's still got many years left in the tank, I think, at the top level. Maybe 2 or 3 more years. So, and also another thing we mentioned about Klopp. His plan will be to leave Liverpool in the next couple of years. Steven Gerrard, will he move on? Will he move on to Liverpool? Because everyone thinks, I think a lot of people think one day he's going to be a future Liverpool manager, and he's being bred to be the next Liverpool manager. Will he succeed Klopp? And if Villa have a long-term plan, does that include Gerrard, or does that not include Gerrard? If he goes to Liverpool in a couple of years' time, that's going to be difficult for Villa. Who are they going to bring in to replace him?
Yeah, but for Gerrard, it would be the next couple of years. It would be a big test at Aston Villa. So he will be tested at Aston Villa, and top ranks at Liverpool will be closely monitoring him. They're not going to give him the job because he's Gerrard. It's not money. I don't think so.
What about Man United giving the job to Solskjaer?
Because there is no proper structure in place at Man United. Okay. There is no director of football. There is no nobody knows who's making the decisions.
Yeah,
that's a big issue.
So that's a completely different scenario. If that's why.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Gerrard will want to be involved in some way with the club, and I mean Chelsea tried it with Lampard, didn't they? And it didn't work out. They sacked him after just over.
I think it was too soon for him because he was coming from Derby. It was it's different when you are a coach, a manager with a Premier League club, than starting out at the Championship club, and then move to a top club like Chelsea. It's completely different. So it's we'll see. We'll see
on that one.
Yes.
I mean, next season,
the same with Everton. Now that you mentioned Lampard.
Well, yeah, two former England legends, and top players in their day, Premier League legends, greats. Yeah, Lampard. It's a difficult time to be an Everton fan.
And Everton, they seem to change coaches, managers every year.
And they don't have a structure in place. Do they go for the experienced manager or do they go for the inexperienced manager? They've tried both. They've tried both in recent times, and it's just not moved. They've had Benitez, haven't they? They've had Ancelotti, top managers who manage Real Madrid.
Yes.
But they've also had Marco Silva, the young manager, and now they've gone for Lampard, a younger manager. I don't know. You talk about Man United with the strategy. What about Everton? What is the strategy with Everton at all? I don't think they have one.
I have no idea.
How much money have they spent in the last 3 or 4 seasons? Unbelievable amounts.
Man United spend more money than City in the transfer market in recent years. So it's not about money.
No, money doesn't make a difference.
Yes.
Everton are paying top wages. They've paid a lot of money on players. Some unbelievable. They've got a really good when you look on paper, their players are, really impressive. They're pushing on the top four, some of them. Richarlison, what a player. But is his head really in it? Does he, will his agent be looking to get him out there?
The big discussion now is who's making the decision, football people or, accountants and lawyers that know nothing about football. That's another issue.
Yeah, running a business is one thing, but running a football club is something completely different.
I understand there are big commercial considerations for Premier League. We're talking about global names now, but there should be a clear line of responsibility to the football professionals and to the marketeers and the other people in the club. So it shouldn't confuse your job duties. If you're ignorant about football, you shouldn't be the person to make the transfers for the club.
Yeah. But on an immediate point, do you think Everton will go down?
It's unbelievable, Jack, because you're talking about Premier League football clubs.
Yeah.
It's not one of the top leagues in the world, if not the best league in the world. Okay, and you see all these anomalies in the way they operate, and you say, we're talking about billions here. How can they, make wrong decisions? Okay, you can make a wrong decision, but I mean, all the time, on a continuous basis for 3, 4, 5 years.
Will that result in Everton getting relegated, though, do you think? Do you think they'll go down? They've never been relegated from the Premier League.
Listen, talking about Leeds, which is the other club.
Well, another one. Do you think that? So, when do you think Everton will get relegated first? Do you think they'll go down?
Yeah, but the thing is, probably. Who knows? Oh, okay. He started accusing his players for the loss in the FA Cup. Lampard, have you seen that?
Yes, he did, and he used a few swear words there to bleep out. He was going crazy, so maybe he's lost the dressing room.
If you lose your players, then it might turn the other way around. Okay, now with Marsh and Leeds, it looks like they're starting having a momentum.
Well, yeah, because they really, that's an interesting one, because they had Bielsa. He was like a god up there. They loved him. The players, adored him. He is a master tactician. He's influenced a lot of managers over the years because of his style of play. He's not always been the most successful, but he has a football philosophy. Now, Jesse Marsh has come in. He's come in an American, rare American coach in the Premier League. We've not seen many of them. So it'll be interesting. Will he be able to imprint his philosophy when they've had such a strong philosophy under the previous manager? Look, they picked up a couple of results there, and look, they're 7 points clear from Watford. So I think things are looking a bit rosier for them. I know there's teams that have got games in hand, but they've got points on the board there, and they've still got a good squad of players. Leeds are a big club. The Leeds should be in the Premier League. They really should have. They don't have no team has a right to be there. No club has a right to be there. But they are a top club, and it's good to see them back in the Premier League and hopefully staying there and challenging back where they used to in the past. Former winners, former top 4 contenders. Hopefully they can build on from this. But look, they conceded far too many goals. Look at that, 67 goals in 30 games. They really need to sort their defence out next season if they want to climb the table.
Because Bielsa didn't want to change his philosophy. Sometimes you need to adapt. It's not, and I think that's one of the reasons why, of course, they wanted to change something in order to avoid relegation. I agree with you. It's a big club. It's a massive club, Leeds United. So they needed to do something. Okay, but he stuck to his guns, and he was, all guns blazing, and we don't care about our defensive structure. That's why. And of course, they have a young goalkeeper as well. He's doing well, but it's the defensive structure of the team. Everybody needs to defend, and everybody needs to attack in the modern era. So okay, we have Burnley and Norwich. They look like they are not going to avoid relegation, in my opinion. The statistics say that you need to get at least 40 points to avoid relegation, and it looks like, and then it's between Watford and Norwich. Watford, they keep making changes in order to stay in the Premier League, okay, it looks interesting at the bottom of the table as well. So
I think on a final, I think personally, I know Burnley always seem to get themselves out of it. They have, and Sean Dyche
I know.
I think the bottom three will go down that we've got at the moment. I think they're all going down.
I agree with you, but I hold back on the Everton situation. Okay. Because of Lampard's inexperience, he has a personality, but you need to have the experience as well. If you remember, a lot of these clubs, they used to get these, the Hodgsons of this world, who had an experience to keep their teams in the Premier League. We're talking about the young, relatively inexperienced coach. He's in a situation in a club where, like you mentioned before, where the structure is not clear and the vision is not clear, okay? And his team is not performing well. So something needs to change in order for them to get the results and stay up. Yeah, and also, they play, one of their matches is against Liverpool as well. So it's a local derby.
That's going to be a big one. What a game for both ends.
And added pressure for them as well.
Yeah, both ends of the table, pressure there. He's not used to. Look, Frank Lampard's not used to battling relegation. When he was at Chelsea, wasn't he? He was always going for the title.
Exactly.
So it's a new experience for him. We'll see if he sinks or whether he swims. We don't know yet. We don't know, but it's going to be a tricky one. I can still see the bottom three going down.
It will be a touch and go if they stay up, in my opinion.
It's good for us as fans, isn't it? To see the top and the bottom, there's something to play for. It's going to be a really exciting final part of the season. And I'm glad, apart from Norwich, they could all get out of it, but I still think the bottom three will go down, although it is tight between, like when you go down from Leeds to Burnley.
It's highly likely that the three bottom teams right now are going to get relegated.
At the moment, it looks like 3 from 4.
But it is not for conclusion.
No.
So we wait and see in the next few matches what is going to happen, and we will be here to monitor a very exciting end of the Premier League. So
absolutely. Thanks, Nikos.
Thanks very much, Jack, and hopefully by the end of the year we're going to have a few more episodes and discuss more about the Premier League.
Cheers. Thanks, Nikos.
Thank you.